Apex, right? So even though the heart sits in there like that, we call the bottom of it, the pointy part, the apex. Here are your big tubes, right? That
Am I?
one comes out to the lungs, one comes out to the body, okay?
My God.
Listen. Your ventricles, right? The top chambers. Look at how small they are compared to how big the ventricles are.
Where's the atrium? Oh, does it atrium?
Okay, so these are the atriums that I'm pinching here.
So that bottom part's the ventricle.
This whole bottom part is all ventricle, right, Trent? Okay.
I said it first.
Listen,
Looks like a big mushy blob, because that's what it is.
you're a muscle, just like all the other muscles of the body.
Bloodiness 100.
You need to have oxygen and food, right? So you can see here's one of the major veins and arteries running to the heart. So this provides the actual heart with oxygen and food, just like your biceps or your quadriceps or your calf muscles, right? Okay. This white stuff is body fat. So just like other organs inside your body, they need a little bit of cushioning in case you have an impact to the chest. Not just your ribs, but a little bit of body fat helps keep your heart safe. Also, let's say something really, really weird happens, like you crash in a plane and you're stuck in the wilderness for 4 days. This is kind of like a last resort reserve. So if your heart was ever to be totally starved and almost had zero body fat left, your heart could actually break this down and use it for energy before you would to eventually maybe die, okay? So, but that's only in, really weird extreme cases.
Oh my God.
When whoever donated this deer heart to me, you can see how thin the aortas are, right? Very thin. Like I'm pinching,
Why are they very thin?
very small amount of tissue here, because where do these have to pump blood? A long distance or a short distance? Short, right? They're just pumping from up here to down here, right? They almost do no work at all. All they have to do is squeeze hard enough to go through those cuspid valves into the ventricles. Ventricles have to do all the work, right? Okay. So if I were to maybe cut this ventricle open a little more.
Oh, let's go.
Oh my God.
Quiet.
Yeah, I'm not recording this.
Overreactive sixth graders.
It's gross.
It's just meat.
It's cool.
Just like the steak
Well, it's
or
a
the
heart.
chicken or the whatever else you eat.
I can't right now. I thought it would throw up.
You can see how thin those ventricle
Let me see
walls
that.
are, or atrium walls are.
Oh, muscly. How are you?
And the bad thing is, most of the time, once you've taken all the liquid out of the heart, right, the animal is dead, those cuspid valves have a tendency to kind of collapse and they stick to the inside part of the heart, so we never really get a chance to see those. Also, you can see this glossy layer, if I can get it with the scalpel a little bit here. Your heart doesn't just sit in your chest. It sits, there you can see like this little layer. It sits in this little, almost like a plastic baggie of fluid called a pericardium. This is a pericardium, right? So this acts as kind of, again, a little buffer. So your heart is kind of like floating in a sack of fluid so it can squeeze and relax without being bothered by, your lungs or other muscles in your chest, okay? So ventricles get all of the good body parts. Here, let's see if we can get some of this atrium here. Okay, this one's extra slimy compared to last one.
Sliminess. Well, it was in that bag.
So, if I can turn it inside out,
Oh my.
it's kind of like the boys do to you girls, right? When they dump you and they turn your hearts inside. So, you can see,
This is
listen,
these are a bunch of sixth graders.
even though this is cardiac muscle, it still has little bundles, kind of like your skeletal muscle does, so that it can squeeze. It doesn't just squeeze from the outside, it actually kind of squeezes from the inside too, because these little circles and holes act like little individual muscle fibers, right? Oh, this is perfect right down here. You can see these perfectly, right? See those bundles, almost like little bundles of rubber bands, okay? So those help squeeze the heart from the inside, not just from the outside, okay? Let's see if I can get lucky here and find the ventricles.
But the ventricles are like marked right there.
Whoever field dressed the last one cut the ventricle perfect, so we had a really good cut last hour.
Well, there we go.
Pretty good here. This, I have a feeling,
He has a feeling, guys.
He has a feeling he's gonna throw up.
This-
Exactly.
where my thumb is now, is your right. Listen,
This is a bunch of 6th graders. You know?
listen. The right ventricle, because look at how thin this layer is. Okay.
But what?
See the wall of the ventricle here? Pretty thin.
I
Okay.
can't see it. I'm trying to record.
Because it just has to pump blood where? Right ventricle. Right ventricle blood goes where?
It's a magical place.
To the lungs, right? It just has to go out this
Go to the
tube.
nearest trash can.
See if I can find my opening here.
That's disgusting.
Make my fingers connect
That's really nasty.
Oh my god.
Pretty disgusting.
somewhere.
Oh my god.
Here's my right ventricle.
Why
So.
did you have to stick your fingers?
So much blood in there.
Don't barf next to me.
I'm not gonna barf. I'm not gonna barf.
Mr. Calloway, is that window open?
Well, hopefully not right now.
Yeah, get a little
I can watch a pig
airflow.
being slaughtered, but I guess it's
Neither do I.
Yeah, it's starting to smell.
I've been
a little.
recording this for 6 whole minutes,
So-
and I'm gonna watch it again. Oh my god.
Trent. Listen.
I can't.
So here's your septum, right? You can see a thinner wall. See the atrium wall. See those bundles again.
Bundles.
This part of the heart squeezes from the inside as well as from the outside. Okay.
Man, I think this is where I do my work.
That is.
If I can find the other septum edge,
How about the nodes?
you would have to find a more trained person than me on that, Trent. I'm
Find
not
the
good.
nodes?
Yeah. 'Cause
Well,
I'm not sure if they're really visible or if you'd have to have some kind of electrical detector
Can I
to.
stab the heart?
No.
You have to have gloves. Rabies.
So.
Breathe.
Rabies. Yeah, rabies.
I can tell this is definitely the right side because I've cut and cut and I still haven't made it into the chamber. So
Yeah, blood. You're gonna get
But the chamber of what's smart?
number one, Lincoln, rabies can't live in the freezer as long as I've had these in the freezer.
Oh god.
Wait, you had these like in your refrigerator, like in your kitchen?
Freezer?
In your kitchen?
My deep freeze?
You should have just left it how it was, not cut it open.
Definitely the left side because look at how thick this atrium is, or ventricle. Back up.
I'm out of here.
Okay? So you can see, I'll wait for you to listen. Guys, stop. Over here. Shh. So, left side has to do all this work, right? Pump blood all the way down to the tips of your toes, all the way to the top of your head. So you can see how strong that has to be compared to this side that just has to pump right